This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Stay tuned for What's My Line on WCBS TV, Channel 2.
Time now to enjoy What's My Line?
Take a good look at this man. If you saw him at your corner newsstand, would you be able to tell what he does for a living? Is he a world-famous painter? A clerk in a supermarket? An undertaker? What would you say if he turned to you and asked,
"What's my line?"
Yes, What's My Line, where the experts try to guess the occupations of real people. And now let's meet our lineup of well-known personalities whose lines you probably already know. First, the well-known Broadway columnist of the New York Journal-American, Miss Dorothy Kilgallen.
And on my left, one of America's great literary authorities, Mr. Louis Untermeyer.
Thank you, Dorothy. And on my left, that adorable Arlene, Miss Francis.
And on my left, my favorite comedy writer, Hal Block.
Thank you very much. And on my left is our moderator, a news commentator, a master of ceremonies, and about the only daily that you can see on Sunday, Mr. John Daly.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to What's My Line. Once again tonight, we're going to put our cameras close up on a few people from some varied and perhaps unexpected occupations, all of them here to baffle our panel to the happy end that they may carry home some prize money. We'll also have a famous guest challenger before our panel a little bit later in the show, but now it's time to start things rolling and time for our experts to meet our first challenger whose job they will have to spot. So will you sign in, please, miss? Marion Hickey. Is that right?
Very
You
good.
tell us, first of all, where you live.
Newark, New Jersey.
Is it Mrs. or Miss?
Mrs.
Well, there you see the panel. You've got nothing to worry about, but at this point, we like to give them a chance to get a closer look at you. So will you walk down in front of the panel? Any reasonable request they make, you meet.
Could you show us how you shot the leopard?
Mrs. Hickey, would you mind putting one hip on one hand, or vice versa? Would you put one hand on a hip and
She's going to run out of hands or hips.
turn slowly around? Full view. Very good.
Uh-huh.
Now a little bit this way and
Do
on
that
my
for
left.
another half hour or so.
All right, Mrs. Hickey, I think they've had a close enough look at you. Will you come over here and sit down next to me, please? Now, what we're going to do now is on the basis of your handwriting, what you said, how you said it, and the close look that the panel has had at you, we're going to give them one free, wild, and happy guess as to what your line may be. And we'll begin the wild guesses with Miss Kilgallen.
Well, obviously, she's a big game hunter.
A big game hunter. Mr. Untermeyer.
No, I think she's a little game hunter.
A little game hunter. Men, you mean. Miss Francis.
Fur model.
A fur model. Mr. Block.
I think she's a modernistic designer for a pretzel factory.
A modernistic designer for a pretzel.
It has
You
a
love
few new
pretzels.
twists.
Few new twists, and you love pretzels. No, but I'm afraid you're all wrong. Now we're going to let our viewers at home have a really close look at Mrs. Hickey. Meanwhile, we will tell them, panel, what her line is. But you're going to have to dig for facts, and you know the rules. You ask questions in turn, which are to be answered yes or no. Each no answer costs the panel $5, and we keep a record of it right up here. 10 no's, and you've lost the game. Well, we're going to give you one more bit of help. Mrs. Hickey is self-employed. With that, we'll begin the general questioning with Mr. Untermeyer.
Mrs. Hickey, it was Mrs. Hickey, wasn't it?
Yes, it was Mrs. Hickey.
You're employed, I imagine, not by your husband. You're self-employed, I've got it.
You've got a no answer then, but we won't let it count. You must watch those questions which can be answered.
Well, then
no,
vice
but you
versa.
won't.
You are employed in a professional capacity by yourself. Is your work professional rather than a business?
Why don't you start again?
One down and 9 to go. Miss Francis.
Do you deal in services? Do you operate in a shop of any kind?
Yes.
Do you have people employed by you?
Yes.
Is your organization sort of medium size? I mean, is it a small, a regulation shop that one would find on perhaps Fifth Avenue?
No.
No, wait a minute. We've got a problem here because you're really looking for a description of size, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
So we can't give you a flat no on that, Arlene.
You can't? Give me a round
difficult.
one.
You give us a comparison of a sort of normal shop-size establishment. We'll buy that. You go on.
Let's say, do you have a shop about the size of a beauty salon?
Well, it could be.
All right, well,
it could
I'll
be.
drop that.
In dimensions, yes. Beyond that, we say no more.
Dimensions, yes. Do you deal directly with people?
Yes.
Does what you do make people happier?
Oh, yes.
Does it make them hysterical?
Sometimes.
Really? Do you touch the people you deal with?
Not if I can help it.
I think the answer to that question as it was asked is no. So we'll call that 2 down and 8 to go, and Mr. Block, you're it.
Do people come to your establishment rather than you send for them?
Yes.
You deal with males and females?
Yes.
Do they have problems on their mind?
Sometimes.
Do they tell you their problems?
Oh, yes.
What?
Could we have a conference?
You can have 20 seconds for a conference.
How, from the laughs that are going around, the problems that are being told, the size of the place, and the feeling better afterwards, what about bartending?
She might be. Are you a bartender?
Yes.
How did I ever guess that? You know, I was just about to ask, am I the kind of a person that goes to your place?
That would brought the house down. It's too bad you didn't get a chance to ask that question. But congratulations, panel. Congratulations to you, too. You didn't do awfully well with prizes, but you gave them a tough little period there. And thanks for being our guest, Mrs. Hickey, on What's My Line. Good night.
And happy Kelvin.
All right, now, panel, let's see what you can do with the second challenger. So, will you come in and sign in, please, sir?
She was a woman of distinction.
Dick Troy, is that right? Fine. Mr. Troy, Senior will meet you just a minute, and tell us where you live.
Floral Park, Long Island.
Floral Park, Long Island.
Yes, sir.
Well, then these faces are not unfamiliar to you.
No, I don't believe so.
Therefore, they shouldn't frighten you in the least. But we'd like them to get a closer look at you. So will you walk down in front of the panel? Any reasonable demands they make?
I would sort of like to feel his muscle because he looks athletic to me. I want to feel the left one, the one he writes with.
You make such wonderful contacts this way, Dorothy. Mr. Troy, would you shake my hand as though I were a man? Now shake it as though I were a woman. What am I?
Animal or vegetable?
Thank you. He gives both people the same shake, I'll tell you that.
Troy, I think the panel's had a close enough look at you. You come on over here and sit down next to me, if you will. And on the basis of your handwriting, what you said, how you said it, how you shook hands, and the close look the panel's had at you, we give them one wild, free, and happy guess as to what your line may be, and we'll begin the wild guesses as usual with Miss Kilgallen.
I'd say he was a southpaw pitcher.
A southpaw pitcher, Mr. Undermeyer.
I'd say he was a statistician.
A statistician, Miss Francis.
I think he's an electrical type of fella.
Well, that
Anyway,
I
I certainly felt some kind of electricity.
handshake affected you that much, but we'll give you a
AC
few...
or DC, I mean.
We'll give you a few seconds to collect yourself. Mr. Block.
Thank you.
Well, he's dressed in black, so I would say that he conducts obituary services for Brooklyn Dodger fans.
No, I think a very witty answer, but not the right one. And now we're going to let our viewers at home have a really close look at Mr. Troy. Meanwhile, panel, as usual, they will be told what his line is, but you have to dig for facts. You know the rules. Ask questions in turn to be answered yes or no. Each no answer costs the panel $5, 10 no's, and you've lost the game, and we keep the record of it right up here.
How many bartenders can you have?
We give you one more bit of help. Mr. Troy is salaried. With that, we'll begin the general questioning with Miss Francis.
Do you work for a profit-making organization?
No, I don't.
1 down and 9 to go. Mr. Block?
If you work for a non-profit organization, do you work for a governmental agency?
In a way.
Do you need special training for what you do?
I would say yes to that, but don't be misled to the extent of feeling that it would require a long...
Your answer.
No. Well, then you're not misled. So go ahead, Mr.
Do you deal in paperwork a lot?
No, not necessarily.
I think we'll take a no on that. 2 down and 8 to go. Let's see what you can do, Miss Kilgallen.
Does your work have anything to do with people?
You mean in the direct sense?
Well, you know what I mean. People, men and women.
Well, but we're assuming that anybody in the normal functioning of their duties would be mixed up with people. But you mean specifically, does what he do...
I'll ask another question.
I thought if I talked long enough, you might run for cover on that one. Go ahead.
Do you have
Miss
anything to do with animals?
Yes.
Are they live animals?
Yes.
I suppose it would be too simple if they were in a park, wouldn't it?
In a what, Miss Kilgallen?
Well, like a park, in an open space. Are these animals in an open space?
Sometimes.
Are they really? Are these 4-legged animals?
You're the expert in this. They have 4 legs, or don't they? I don't think they do. We'll say no to that. 3 down and 7 to go.
Animals without 4 legs, they're animals with legs.
Yes, they have legs.
They have legs.
Yes, and don't forget we're using very large generalizations in the description of these.
Are these animals that you could ride on?
4 down and 6 to go. Miss Francis.
Are your animals about the size of bugs?
Yes, they are.
Are you an exterminator type of fellow?
No.
No, he's not an exterminator type of fellow as we know an exterminator type of fellow, so we'll say no to that. And 5 down and 5 to go. Mr. Block.
Well, are those bugs ever on people?
Yes, they are.
They are on people? Oh, the nasty bug. Do you take them away off the people?
Maybe it's a virus bug.
No, I think it's only fair to tell you that Miss Francis, you know, is very warm, but he
Thank you, John. Isn't that
I
the
feel it
first
kind
time he's ever told me?
this late hot spell we're having. But
Could we have a conference as long
yes,
as
but
our
I just want to tell
yes.
you he serves in an intermediary capacity
Yes,
between the
you see, what
extremes
he
that
may
you're
do
seeing.
is demorph things or something.
Well, or isn't there, remember the government, in a way, he's connected with the government. Now, aren't there people that
can
take
work on
care of the
control.
Jersey,
How about
the
control
Jersey
of,
swamps
like
and
corn borers or
agricultural or something
Maybe
like that?
mosquito type fellows.
Like an inspector of corn boring
Well,
and things like that.
Well, is it a corn borer thing?
Not a corn borer thing. 6 down and 4 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Yes. Are you connected with controlling some type of undesirable small insect?
Yes, I am.
Big fella like
Is it
that.
anyone we know?
Well, do you... I know there's a type of man that they put on roads or at barriers or at airports to see that things don't come in the country or into a state.
That wasn't the question, was it?
Well, is that what the type of work that you do?
No.
Does he put on a barrier? No, he's not.
No, I
7
don't mean
down.
that. I mean, does he... No, I mean...
No, does he
keep-
function as an inspector of goods coming across the state line which
coming
might
across
contain...
something, yes.
No, I'm afraid we can't buy that. 7 down and 3 to go, Mr.
Can
Undermeyer.
we have another 20 seconds?
It's supposed to be like the Japanese people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Your
Yes.
idea.
Or something you spray a field with.
That's right.
If you'll pardon the expression, the Japanese people.
I'm going to act on that advice and Dorothy's also. Has it anything to do
Wait a
with...
minute, Louis. He's getting ready to turn the card.
Hey, this kind of service you can't do.
Keeping away from bugs in a minute, let's keep the geography. Has it anything to do with swamps? Has it anything to do with...
Indirectly.
Well, I would say that we could answer a flat yes to that because we wouldn't want to mislead you. To be fair, you go ahead, Mr. Undermeyer.
It has to do in a way with swamps and insects which are in swamps. All right, Dorothy, it's your idea. What kind of insects are in swamps?
The only ones I know intimately are mosquitoes.
And
Is he a mosquito doer away with here?
he's a mosquito.
Is that what his name is, a mosquito inspector?
Yes.
He's a mosquito
Christopher.
inspector, big boy like you.
What does he do? Does he inspect them after they get in, or does he try and keep them from getting in?
He just sprays,
he
probably.
inspects them and then takes an estimate on how many are going to bite you in the coming summer.
Uh-huh.
How do you like that?
What branch of the government is that? Just for future
He works
reference.
for a county. The county which is trying to exterminate same by inspecting them first and then taking
Well, what
care of
county
them.
is that?
That where you
Nassau.
would
The
go?
mosquito county.
Nassau County.
John, when he inspects them, does he cross-examine them? I mean, is there...
No, all the cross-examination we do right here, and you did very well, Mr. Troy. Thanks very much for being our guest on What's My Line. Before we meet our mystery guest for this evening, here's a message of importance to us all.
Despite the improved crop situation, men, women, and children in European countries are going hungry. If you've ever been hungry, even for a short time, you know that hunger lowers not only your physical capacities, but also your powers of reasoning. In these days when men and women must reason, when conflicts arise over several ways of life, you can act as an ambassador of American democracy and friendship. You can help by sending a care package overseas. For $10 or for as little as $5.50, you can help the fight for democracy through care.
And now we come to the regular special feature of our show, the appearance of our mystery. Y and Z. Now, will you come over here and sit down beside me, please, Mystery Challenger? As you know, panel, we dispense with the amenities in the case of our Mystery Challenger and get right down to the general questioning. So we'll begin the general questioning with Miss Francis.
Are you in professional life?
Yes.
Are you in the creative, is the work that you do creative in any way?
Yes.
Are you in the entertainment business?
In the what, Miss Francis?
Entertainment? Do people enjoy or listen to? Is she before the public?
We'll answer that as partially yes.
Partially, yes. She is partly before the public. Is she then perhaps in government in any way?
In government in any way?
Uh-huh.
No.
One down and 9 to go, Mr. Block.
Are you a very beautiful woman?
Yes.
Well, it's about time. In other words, you're backstage, what I would consider the answer from Arlene. Because you're not in front of the public, so you're sort of behind the scenes.
Well, now, before you're misled, we said that our mystery guest was partially before the public in terms of being seen by the public as she functions occasionally. Now, you go from there, Mr. Block.
Well, do you have anything to do with the theater?
No.
I'd say no to that. 2 down and 8 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
If you function partially before the public, would you say that the bulk of your work was done privately?
Yes.
Is it creative?
Yes.
Well, are you a writer?
Yes.
Beautiful writer?
Yes.
Her voice changed.
Did you write a very, very famous book which was a bestseller?
Yes.
Dorothy?
Well, does she hesitate so?
She's just modest.
She has...
Dorothy, I got a thing.
Do you want a conference?
Yeah.
All right.
She's a very beautiful woman, and she's written a book, and it was a bestseller. There was only one woman that I know that sort of took the place by storm on the back of the
Well,
book.
shall I take a stab at her?
Find out if the book was banned in Boston.
Oh, wasn't everything? Everything's banned in Boston, but I'll try it. Are you Kathleen Winsor?
Absolutely right, Dorothy. And congratulations to you. We were hoping to fool you because we were afraid you might recognize her voice.
Should get that voice. I saw her only earlier this evening.
I know, but we still hope...
Yes.
We hoped we'd fool you, but we didn't. And, of course, Miss Windsor, we are going to send a check for $50 to your favorite charity, which is Holland House, I believe, right? Yes. And we know Star Money is already a big success, but we hope it keeps going on and up forever, your newest book. And thanks very much for being our guest on What's My Line. Bye-bye. And now, while our next challenger is getting ready to sign in, let me remind you that we'll be on every week at this time. And if you'd like to appear on What's My Line to puzzle our panel with your occupation, Simply send us your picture. Any small snapshot will do. Your name, address, and occupation, and when you expect to be in New York. Send all of this to What's My Line, CBS 485, Madison Avenue, New York 22, New York. All right, panel, let's see what you can do with another challenger. Will you sign in, please, sir? Florian. Florian Obohovsky. Is that right, sir? Right. Well, first of all, Mr. Obohovsky, tell us where you live.
Stamford, Connecticut.
Stamford, Connecticut. Well, you've come quite a way to be our guest tonight. There's the panel over there, and they want to get a closer look at you. So will you walk over in front of the panel? Any reasonable request?
Would you mind facing the audience a moment? And let's see you touch to your toes with your picture.
He did it!
Very good. Excellent.
I'd kind of like to see where you got that tie. I'm curious about ties and labels and things. It's Cardinal, Fifth Avenue. Certainly.
Say.
No, that's all right.
All right, Mr. Obohovsky, will you come over here and
Yes,
sit
he's
down
willing.
next to me?
I like
please?
that.
Very
I
cooperative.
think the panel's had a close enough look at you, and on the basis of your handwriting, what you said, how you said it, close look they've had at your necktie and at you, we give them one wild, free, and happy guess as to what your line may be, and we begin the wild guesses as usual with Miss Kilgallen.
I think he's a clothing salesman.
A clothing salesman, Mr. Undermeyer.
I think he does the choreography for Mike Todd's Peep Show.
No, I'm afraid not. Miss Francis.
I think he's an interpreter at the United Nations.
An interpreter at the United Nations, Mr. Block.
I think he's a food tester at the A&P.
I'm afraid you're all wrong. So we'll now let our viewers at home have a really close look at Mr. Obohovsky, and at the same time we will tell them what his line is. But panel, you know what the rules are. You've got to dig for facts, ask questions in turn to be answered yes or no. Each no answer costs the panel $5. We keep a record of it up here, 10 no's, and you've lost the game. We'll give you one more bit of help. Mr. Obohovsky is self-employed. With that, we'll begin the general questioning with Miss Francis. Not so. Oh.
He's salaried?
He's salaried. I tripped up there. I'm very sorry.
You're salaried.
He's salaried. S-A-L-A-R-I-E-D.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.